Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, podcast presented by Melee Stats. And as you might know, the videos, I'm back in my old abode, back wall, the old sneakers, the record. My little jaunt in California had to come to a close, but I hope that you guys did the episode that we had last week in a somewhat famous streamer's house, if I could say. Um, I really did have a fun time and was all over that great state. Uh Not really. The big state. I was been barely any of it. But some have bandied about the term King of California when referring to me, but it's possible that the term King of California might even be more applicable to our guest today. So
Yep.
you guys remember after Face Roll got third at Smash World Tour West Coast, he came on the show, and after Polish got third at Smash World Tour East Coast, he came on the show, and well, let's continue the streak. Hot
Yeah,
off
what's
of his
up?
third
It's
place.
Chroma, guys.
It's obviously, if you're looking at the Twitch chat description currently, it's Chroma, but you might know him better as KoDoRiN.
I'm doing great. I just worked out. I just ran like 5 miles. I'm eating all these protein bars.
You're living in New Jersey. You're commentating.
And I'm just casually getting third at big tournaments like Mainstage. I had to rep KoDoRiN. He thought the scheduling was so bad that he got me to do it instead. So
How is my man MF?
yeah, so playing a little aside. Quite the weekend for me. It was like because I don't really go to any stations. Like it's not
Mhm.
like I decided to look at this turn and be like, you know what? I just really want to get summit. I'm getting third place today. That's just my goal. Like I don't do that. Tons of RNG and positioning. And secondly, like there's just so many unaccounted variables for known that the scheduling could be kind of this rough, for example. And I don't know. I just like deal with it in the present moment to see what I can execute right now, what I have currently in my control. That's how I like view majors like these. And when I make a run like this, it's like, oh, well, that's just like a surprise. A
Mhm.
welcome to be sure. And it's not like I'm expecting to myself to keep up this kind of streak or whatever. I just can and have fun at the event. Going to all these tourneys, they're just really, really fun for me.
Yeah, some things there. Before we went live, we were talking, and yeah, I do believe that this schedule. I was able to talk to some TOs about this. It's definitely the type of schedule that works really well for people who make it out of round one or who gets 65th or something. But the
Yeah.
second you start to go a little further in bracket, you do kind of have to like juggle a lot of things, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, I don't think we've ever had a perfect like a really perfect schedule. This is your, if you want to, let's probably not count Smash World Tour and Summit. Those are invitationals. It's kind of hard to do
Yeah.
that. Um,
Honestly, probably the biggest issue with the scheduling was the fact that we had to play top 16 in a 7-hour block for no reason. Uh, like
yeah,
I don't know why it's top 16 there only to play it in the morning, only to not actually play it out all the way. Like that's a little confusing to me. Like why they did it that way. Like I felt like it would have been a lot better handled if it was round like round one to like top eight, and then top eight was dedicated only to Sunday. Like I felt like it probably could be better handled there.
yeah, yeah. I didn't. This is I didn't really go into this with any preparation, but I think we do have some both have thoughts on this. Yeah, so I'm actually for a little bit against Championship Sundays. I think that this is like a fun discussion to have because as someone now you've been 2021 every in-person event.
Oh, that's
Uh,
true.
so you are feeling this firsthand. Uh, you have the use of the majors that we used to have, and presumably these majors will. Genesis would always run Championship Sunday. It
Mhm.
would always be everything. We used to run some stuff on Friday, just to accommodate that. But
Yeah.
sometimes you would be playing from 10 a.m. your round one and playing somewhat consistently until 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Because they were going all the way up to top eight. And then you have the opposite, which is, do you remember Big House scheduling? Have you ever been to a Big House?
I watched Big House where they did top 64 at 10 a.m.
Top 64 at
Sunday.
10 a.m., which is like the complete opposite. I mean, this isn't to take away from anything, but you look at Plup versus Bananas, which is
Yeah.
like this huge upset, and it's
Mhm.
I mean, part of any
Back when wobbling
tournament.
was legal.
Yeah, well, part of any tournament is performing in the tournament itself, which is kind of it's this like another dimension that people don't really talk about. But yeah, the fact that a really good ice climbers player at 10 a.m. with wobbling on, it's like, is that the ideal tournament experience either? Uh, so yeah, I think this is an interesting something that because of the discourse around this, up in the most you know uh wasn't brought up in the most perfect way, I guess. I
Yeah.
do think that it's this thing that TOs always think about, but now it's something to definitely have a discussion about. So yeah,
Well,
I want to hear your idea of what like a perfect schedule would be like, I guess.
right. I mean, like, the thing is, first and foremost, is I would like to say that, I've TO'd my own fair
Hmm.
share. Like,
Yeah,
I've
you're a TO yourself.
TO'd UCI weeklies, I've TO'd Saving Mr. Lombardi's, I've helped I literally run TNT online like every week to this day. And, and the first and foremost thing is that, like, these guys do this, like, mostly for the love of the game. Like, it's not like they have, like, any freaking malicious intent. They're all nefarious. Their plans is like, ha ha ha! I am making this guy through the top. I always like have that perspective in mind because I've literally done it myself. And I mind that, like, despite kind of being pretty annoyed to the TOs themselves, like,
Yeah.
I wish it would have been better, but whatever. But it's so 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 important that the reason why Regius and the third day, you need to be playing your best against the best players in the world. It's whatever to play 10 a.m. You could just get away with doing trying to play at 10 a.m. against like top 10. Oh, like just for comparison set, like for comparison sakes, look at the between my set losers, and like you could type AM stuff going on
Hmm.
in the winners bracket versus whatever happened in losers bracket, where like he was definitely playing on. That was like such an egregious thing to have like early morning performances, especially like it's not like top players had like ton of prep times. Like some people had to like uh they couldn't finish until like 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. at like Saturday, and then to like make them play again at 10 a.m. Which realistically, if they want at 8 a.m. most likely, and then to also ask them to play out of their mind at their summit, like that's just rough. All essentially, probably like the biggest sore thumb was like being forced to play early at Sunday, and like for me, like I've heard around that it's like, oh, what you had a 7 hour downtime anyways, like why not just like chill in your hotel? Well, for me, because stuff set up with Mango where I booked a room for myself for 2 days and I had to leave Sunday morning, and then I take over his hotel like by Sunday night. onto any hotel that time. And I imagine if people wanted to save money, that they want to go home around, to just go back to it Sunday. So it's like,
Yeah.
for me, I literally just kind of stood around nothing. And I tried timing a meal around 4 p.m., which was a mistake. It didn't run until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
As supposed. Like it didn't run at 5 p.m. It ran at 7 p.m., which I was really annoyed about. Um, so just overall, the fact that like it wouldn't have been a problem at like if we didn't have to play at all. If we got like proper prep time for Sunday instead of like waking up at like 8 a.m. That's just rough. And keep in
Hmm.
mind that East Coasters, like they kind of got cucked. They were like blessed and cucked at the same time for the part where
Yeah. The
okay,
early
10 a.m. is
pools.
1 p.m.
Yeah.
Then, but the fact that they had to stay up really late, okay, that's actually like 1 a.m. to them. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was just rough all around. I don't want to dunk on them too hard because like I know they're probably like they know the message. We don't need to reiterate too much, but the part where Sunday was played at 10 a.m. and then we didn't even like keep playing was like I think was probably the egregious mistake.
Yeah. It's a conversation that I don't think really has any easy answer at the moment. Um, I know that IBW surely wasn't very happy with the long break between round two pools and top 64. On the other hand, you have yeah, I was talking to CLG Bobby, and I know that SFAT and him were very excited about the whatever pool structure they had. I think had them basically kind of playing like 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m. That was SFAT's kind of round one and round two top 64, which that's also not every player loves to play 6 hours straight and has to kind of ramp up um, as the tournament goes. I mean, it's really hard to come up with a truly perfect way to run a 500, 600 person major. But I do think that as we get to talking about results, and stuff, kind of the bread and uh, one thing that, for as much as the people from Melee Stats like to state set counts and like head to heads and stuff like that, I do think that personally, speaking for me and probably Ambient, Edwin, and et cetera, uh, understand that there's a lot of wiggle room to all that, and part of it's the human element, right? It's like online we talked about how none of this was real, but then going in person we kind of forget the aspects of like, yeah,
Yeah.
you might not have eaten for 8 hours or something, or uh, people talked about how the lights are blaring in their eyes.
Is that as valid as net play namely? People seem
Yeah,
to think so, but
it, it's still you know if you are able to do really well in one specific, you aren't able to put it all together in terms of like stringing together 3 days worth of competition. Yeah, it's an interesting question that I think we don't really talk about enough in Melee, right?
yeah, I mean, whenever people get really mad about like net play stuff, like I kind of like remind them that land melee is also not like perfect, and like that was always my mentality for online melee. That like
Yeah,
yeah, net play might be the reason why I lost this one interaction, but it's not the reason why I lost like 10 interactions. Deep of a game that like it, it's really obvious why you lost, and usually the answer is not because of just net play.
we kind of like to think it's two people playing at their perfect peaks, but it's not really that, right?
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that I don't.
yeah, it's kind of the reason why people would really talk about Armada's consistency. Armada's just like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 was just incredible.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, let's talk about your experience here. So I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, this is your so what is this? Your current fourth big tournament in a row where you got top eight. You had
Woo.
Riptide, Seventh place there. You had third at Low Tide, fifth at Smash World Tour, and now another third here. So you come into this, and you are seated, I believe, sixth.
Yeah.
How do you go into a tournament like that? Because surely for something of this size, this is the highest that you've been seated, right?
I believe so, and I
In
guess
person, at least,
technically
right?
I guess I technically outplaced my seed.
True, that you did.
Honestly, I thought I was kind of a little overseeded, if I'm being completely honest. But like, like not in terms of results, because I think in terms of results, I am justified there. But in terms of like feeling that, I was like, ooh, I'm this thing. Um, uh, And honestly, I just don't overthink it. Like I think
Yeah.
like so many players just get in their head when they think about like their expectations and all. And for me, like I always channel why I even go to these tourneys in the first place. And the first and foremost thing to me is that like it's just fun to like compete and to like learn what I can from feel the rush of winning, stuff like that. Like the at the end of the day. And
Mm.
melee is really fun, and it's just like such a step up from like you know before melee was in the picture. I think I had like a pretty boring life. I didn't really know what I was doing, and then with melee in the picture, that helped a lot. And like I kind of always just think that where like yeah, compared to why I was like this is what I'd rather do anyways, even despite bad scheduling, despite all that. Like I always channel that feeling that like this is what I love doing in first place, and that's something I can't ever take back. And that's why I just have fun at all these tourneys. I don't really think too much about the results.
Are you a guy who looks at your bracket? I know there's like a very
I do look at
distinct.
my bracket.
Okay. There's a very distinct sect of people who are like, "Do not tell me my bracket. I'm not looking at my bracket. I don't want to know who I play until I sit down."
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not sure. Yeah, 'cause-
Oh no, I ran into the swooper when I was like I was just walking out and eating out, and then
mm.
I was walking back to the venue, and then I just happened to meet up swooper, and I was like, oh, what's your bracket like? And it's like, oh yeah, don't tell me. I'd rather go without knowing. I'm like, oh okay, okay, cool, cool.
Well, speaking of the swooper, you had a Samus in your path, right? Well, I believe one of your first matches against one of the other like top
Hmm.
seeds. I think the other top 64, the first top 64 seed you played was
Yeah.
Kata.
Yes, that's correct. And I had some Samus warm up. Like I found weapons. I played with
Nice.
Super for a little while. Um, Honestly, that matchup. So okay, I don't think too much about my expectations of what to do, but that doesn't mean that I don't prepare. Like I do
Yeah.
prepare like a decent amount. Like what is my bracket path and how can I best prepare? Um, I I try to see what I can do because the whole point of me not like caring too much about the results is that like I just simply see what I can do in the present moment. Like, it's not because like I can't control if I want to get third but what I can control is how I influence the matches that I play. And when I saw that I had to play Kata, like I looked up some of Kata's net play VODs,
Hmm.
like him versus Logan at East Coast Friday, I believe. And I made sure to hit up as many Samuses as possible. But I like, when I ran into Super, like we played friendlies for 30 minutes in preparation for my set versus Kata, and ran into Weapons again. A good warm up, but with Samus, like, dude, it's like such a stressful matchup because like decent at the matchup. It's just that I need to be pretty warmed up. Like I need to remember like certain rules even when I was warming up and I was playing against Kata, like it became apparent to me that I forgot like a few, and because like I forgot some rules, like it made that set like way closer than I think it should have been. Like
Yeah.
game
Well.
one, I look back on it and I had, I do my practice streams every day where I was like
Mhm.
analyzing my set versus Kata, and I was like, dude, I was like doing so many things wrong. Like I was doing what I consider cardinal sins in the Samus matchup, which is approaching, doing way dash forgetting that walk down tilt was a tool, like stuff like that, where like I was just seeing that like I was breaking so many rules. I was like, dude, I there's like game one, I think Kata should have won if I'm being honest. And then like
Yeah.
game two, he was like handing me a lot of stocks. So
Oh wow. Yeah,
he he
Kata's
definitely gave me a run for
incredible.
my money.
He was kind of one of the bigger question marks going into this event. We had some Central America people, we had some South America people. Out of all those people, was kind of the one that was most well known throughout the net play,
Yeah,
era.
yeah,
But definitely with the caveat of a lot of those results and a lot of those really good wins tended to come from some pretty high paying. Um,
sure,
so land melee, I think, was something that people looked out for Kata. Um,
right,
but yeah, that's it's cool to hear with that. And then after Kata, you have well, you have Panda, right?
yeah. I was actually supposed to be play Shroomed, but then
Yeah.
Panda just upsetted him out of blue. Which when I saw the Shroom versus Panda set, I was like, oh, maybe actually Panda could beat him. And I saw Shroom try to tech chase Panda, and he could not get more than two tech chases. And
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know why Shroom kept trying to reaction tech chase because he just got tech in place shine like 5 times, and that was like there was like some deciding moments where it's like, okay, Shroom, please don't go for more than two tech chases, and then Panda reversed him and made some great plays against him. So when I got Shroomed or when I got Panda, I was like, oh, okay. Because like I was practicing a lot against Sheik prior, but I guess that was for nothing. But didn't matter to me. I didn't care if I got Panda or Shroom. Shroom probably would have been the harder opponent, but I actually really wanted to like see if my Sheik adjustments would work or not. But I guess I'll find out later.
Yeah, would have been
Uh,
interesting to see. Shroom,
Yeah, and instead I
definitely.
kind of got like a more comfort matchup against Panda, where like I played him online before at Pound,
Yeah.
2021, and I beat him pretty solidly, and it was no different in LAN, where like I just pretty much did like a very similar game plan and won. Uh, so I mean, it's like Panda kind of just played pretty. I want to say he played like as if he was really stressed out, and I just took advantage of that.
Mm.
Swung around my.
Yeah, I definitely do think that Shroom would have been an interesting match, but Panda is very good. Panda did well here, but
Mhm.
kind of a hard task for
Yeah,
for that right there.
yeah,
But the next one, I think we start the bracket that it gets a little more interesting. So you've had an online history with Gatsu.
yeah.
And I think you've had an online history with a lot of these Falcons. You had offline history, of course, too. But I think this is
Mhm.
kind of one of the bigger things that the how you've done throughout the past couple months, throughout the past year or so. I do think that how you've been doing since against Falcon has been kind of like a really good barometer of
Yeah.
how you've been able to improve overall. So this is obviously a matchup that you've put a lot of work into, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And I think probably like the most notable one was when I just came out of the blue and beat S2J for the first time at the big one. It
yeah.
was a real convenient time. Well, okay, it wasn't the first time, but like a very big surprise when I just managed to like beat S2J and then take Wizzy to game five. Uh
Hmm.
people I don't know. I made a highlight video about this that explains why I was able to like beat S2J was because I had some secret weapons planned. Uh, Before my set versus SCJ, there's that 1 day downtime, and I was like, I need something because like I think with my current state, I could not beat SCJ, so I needed to
Hmm.
pull out a secret. That was that was me taking monthly PPMD lessons.
Nice.
We're hitting you up now. I know like it's kind of a little scuffed with the scheduling because he prefers to be know a little bit in advance, but
Hmm.
I was supposed to commentate day two, but it ended a lot faster than they thought, so he was down to do a lesson with me. And he took side being Falcon's Nair in place and like other principles as well and like edge guarding a little better. And I was like, yeah, maybe this might work out. This might work out. I could at least try. And when I tried out my secret weapon, it worked out better than I thought. And oh, I was warming up against like the other Falcons, like Zio, Gatsu before like my sets was SJ and Wizzy.
Yeah.
Uh, I saw that they worked out actually incredibly well. It's like. could try this. I could try this. And then ever since then, like I've been having a decent record against Falcons. I'm still struggling a little against Wizzy, but like I think I could figure something out. And with Gatsu, like to me, it's like a test of like, am I hitting things or not? Because like in the net play era, he used to just like stomp on me like on our first couple sets, and I kind of like started to like notice like he kind of has some like patterns in neutral, and it kind of becomes a question of am I hitting hard enough? And like for him, it's a question of am I hitting my edge guards, my gimps, my setups? Like, is all those good? And if the answer is yes, then I think I'm usually beating Gatsu. And that's why I also tend to go to game five because, like,
Hmm.
sometimes he does switch it up, but also other times I'm just like not hitting punishes. And yeah, it was a tight one with my set versus Gatsu. Like, I kind of got lucky with kind of gave me game three and game five. Fountain side platform like came in so clutch to me in like a lot of spots, and it's just like learning stuff in the Mark Falcon matchup, and it kind of starts with like how well am I edge guarding, and like that's like kind of like a good indicator of whether or not I might win versus Falcon.
Yeah, I think I mean you Riptide, right? You played him in person at Riptide.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you played him and Wizzy there. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see because the way that you play this, you're right. The side B, I think the side B is really easy to see when you're. I think your implementation of it is it's pretty unique compared to what we normally see. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm interested to see more of this. But
yeah,
one thing I'm more interested about as well to see the future of. I'm gonna skip over SFAT for a second because I do want to talk about those sets. Uh, because I think
what's
that
up?
what when people go into matches with HBox, what used to happen is that they seemed impossible, and then for a while they seemed extremely possible. This is during the online era, and now we're kind of getting back to he's very good. He might not be top five, that he's top 10. It's kind of hard to place him specifically.
Yeah,
Um, but I did with HBox's upset potential
yeah.
is kind of all over. I think that it's definitely not as bad as it was during the online era, but it's still kind of hard to see. So you took the first game, and I want to just like talk. Preparation went into this. It did seem like you had a kind of a feel in the matchup that I thought was really good.
hmm Yeah. So out of the blue, when I made top eight,
Hmm.
Zane messaged me just it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you notes against HBox, and you should try it." I was like, "Oh, cool." What I thought was not cool was later on he only sold it for 10 subs to leak those notes. It's like, dang, that's worth 100 subs. What the hell?
Yeah, I saw that it made it to Reddit. I didn't know how, but I
It's because he
guess
leaked it for 10. Really? 10? Whatever. But yeah, no, he gave me like a bunch of good notes for whatever. Like, I didn't ask for it, and he just went out of his way to give me that notes. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And like, it had a lot of good stuff there, and like reminding me of rules I should follow in a puff matchup. I think I the thing is like whenever I kind of take rules like that, like I tend to only think about it instead of like integrating it, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like I kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
tunnel vision a little, and it definitely at some points it felt like I tunnel vision too hard on those rules instead of like kind of just relying on my blueprints. Like because like how I think about it is like I have like my own style versus Puff, but I try to like make the notes like the new style when what I probably should have done is like integrate the notes as like not as like a completely new style, but to update it like completely overtaking everything, you know.
Makes
So I think that's kind of like my mistake with that matchup, and like I as well, and like a real big mistake that I made was like kind of in certain spots and like not spots and kind of respecting him a little. It's just like a lot of things. Like I kind of just lost because, well, okay, some six did kind of like, I guess, threw me off a little, but
There was a pop
really,
off.
what really threw me off though was like I just didn't know about this stuff and that. I made some bad
Mm,
plays and like I could try to avoid that next time, that kind of thing.
yeah, kind of tunnel visioning. I do think that that is the greater when you're given information like that. Tend to focus on that information, and then you learn more about it. You learn when it's to be used, and just becomes another part of the arsenal. So that is one as we go on. Yeah, that is an interesting match. That's one I look for.
Yeah.
Summit and Smash World Tour approaching, and both of you guys qualified for each.
Hmm.
Um, that is definitely something I want to see.
Yeah.
But let's talk about let's talk about your SFAT matches as well. Uh, or actually, do you want to talk about Cody or do you want to talk about SFAT? These are
I could love both of them.
yeah.
I've
Because
been,
how did you feel about both of them going into this? Because in my mind, this is Foxmarth, right?
yeah,
Make whatever joke you want about that. Uh, but Zayn aside, these two players have had a pretty good history versus Marth players.
yeah.
So going into these, I believe you had a set on SFAT in the online era, correct?
Hmm.
Well,
Well, a couple of sets here and
yeah,
there,
yeah.
like
I did.
TNTs
I
and
meant that you
like
just beat him. But have you ever had a win on Cody?
no.
Okay, so you come in to this. Yeah, how do you feel about these two players going in, and kind of what were your thoughts on the matches?
Yeah, so I'd also like to preface that like I'm not normally known as a fox killer. In fact, like if you've
Mhm.
known me since like years prior, fox was like one of my weak. I would just lose to fox players. Like if you ever checked out the National Melee Arcadian 2, I lost to a fox player early, like upset it by like Russell or something.
Mhm.
Like I was not good at the fox matchup for a long time. Part of it was chain grabbing, like I wasn't good at tech chasing. Since I was a lot more stationary back then, I was fat to me. So like Fox was actually like a problem matchup for me, except for like certain people that like were just really bad against Mark. Like I would
Mhm.
have some people's number, but like I didn't ever feel until kind of recently, like the last few months. The advancements that I've made in the Fox matchup was like kind of a couple followings. It was like me getting better at the general punch game. Like, I started to get a lot better at the chain grabs by actually practicing and
Mhm.
sitting down and like making sure I could get a lot off of certain flowcharts. Tech chasing better. That's been a huge advancement. Like knowing the reaction tech chase setups, learning the reaction tech chase, then like I know like read setups. Uh and so like learning stuff about like punish game stuff has given me like a huge edge and like against like getting better in the Fox matchup. And secondly, getting faster overall also helps and like moving around. Like I've been having lessons with PP about like, movement stuff and like I could why like movement is good and like learning some specifics about it. And in turn, when I learn more about movement, like it just naturally makes me a little bit faster of a player since I'm moving around. And that's something Zane also pointed out to me is that like you just need to like use more movement, in my opinion. And
Mhm.
thinking about that, like I think that definitely helped. And lastly, when I was like looking for advancements in the Sheik matchup, I kind of just learned how I was like messing around with jump back fair, and I realized at some point from my analysis, I was like, wait a second, if I jump
Mhm.
back and I don't always fair, like this is actually broken. Like I could like and down really approach, I could just like fair or waveland or whatever. Like this is actually a lot better of a tool than I gave it credit for. And I started to apply it to other matchups such as spot, like really good, like a jump back fair. And then like if they are close to me, then I can empty land grab or down tilt. Like that advancement in my neutral game, I think gave me like a huge edge to be like a I was criticized for in the past, and what I totally agree with is that like I was just too stationary in the Fox matchup, but being able to like do like I think kind of resolves that problem in many ways. And once I kind of figured that out, like in the last couple weeks, I then just did it against SFAT and IPDW, and it kind of worked out well. And like I'm also playing friendlies against Rusty Mango, who, by the way, despite him being rusty, he's still really fucking good.
Yeah.
Uh, like I was like playing around against his Fox as well, and like I was actually like playing around pretty decently around him this time. Like he would always just overwhelm and run me over, but
Hmm.
like I didn't feel that way this time around with like my new advancements. And given my adjustment in the Fox matchup as of late, I was like, oh yeah, it's actually bad at this point, and that's how I'm able to now like I still have to make plays here and there, but like now I'm not like hopeless against Fox.
Yeah.
Like historically two mark killers of people not named Zane. And yeah, I feel like okay about the matchup given the advancements that I've made myself.
Yeah. There's a thing that I've said on this podcast. If you have a player and they're traditionally good matchup, but they're still pretty good at everything else, I think that's a player to look out for. Because like you said, and this didn't come from you do this now. It did come from actually putting in the effort to beat
Mhm,
Fox. But I do believe that player who has a very good spread of matchups,
mhm,
but maybe not great in a one that they traditionally lose. I think that that's like an could.
mhm.
So yeah, that's really cool to see that, and definitely, uh, yeah, this it'd be this was kind of a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise from you that much. I would say with what we know currently, with what you've
Yeah.
done currently, I think that expect. I think you're rising to every expectation that's set for you. Um, how do you view yourself in this current landscape? Because I know that you said you felt a little like personally you felt a little overseeded. But now that we're away from this, now that you've placed like top 8 at every open bracket thing recently, about how to place yourself.
In what regard?
Just like how do you feel in it doesn't have to be like a top 10, it doesn't have to be like if a ranking were to be done today, but how do you feel in this current field of players? Where
Yeah,
do you
I
think you
think
slot in?
I think I'm pretty strong against most species at this point.
Mhm.
Um, like the one that I'd probably not be favored against is Mango, obviously, and
Yeah.
Cody when he's playing his A game. But yeah, really worried about the Falco matchup too much. Maybe Fitch in the
Mhm.
future, but like not nowish. Like it'll take him like a couple months for him to be a problem. But at the moment, like Falco isn't too big of a problem. I kind of just auto win in my head. Like I love playing against Falco for
All
me.
that squid practice, right?
Yeah. I do feel pretty rusty in like other match art. I've not
Mm.
played those as often, and like Puff in some regards. I think if Slug gets into Summit, like I would probably lose to him because like I've not played Ice Season forever. So
Yeah.
like he would definitely be a problem.
Icy's
Um
a very funny matchup because even before wobbling, they used to have this like ebb and tide where they'd be like really good, and then everyone would be like, "Okay, they're really good. We should
yeah,
learn how to play." And then
yeah.
they all, there's a lot of people who end up beating these ice climbers.
I rely on other people in open practice to beat them for me. But
Yeah,
if he's at Summit, he's gonna make a lot of upsets. I'll tell you that much.
yeah.
Because it's not just me that feels that way. Like Zane also thinks Slug is like the best ICs right now,
I don't
and
think
I
people are
I, I
prepared for
agree.
ices. There,
Yeah,
once wobbling ban happened, I think that they kind of were like, "All right, time to never play this matchup again."
yeah, and I was good at the matchup too, but
Yeah,
like it's been a while. So like I kind of forgot about a lot of things, like how to kill Nana efficiently, but whatever.
Hmm.
But like Ichi matchup, like I think I'll probably lose to Tyler Swift. I think I think I'm pretty solid at the Peach matchup. Like after my a lot of
Mm.
rules that I forgot to follow, and I was like, oh, Wally, I remembered those rules, which allowed me to beat Wally and then Keizu and then Polish into succession, or not Polish, Aura favor. Um, so like I feel pretty comfortable against Peach at the moment. Falcon, it's like kind of like an eh. Like I'm never comfortable, but for whatever reason, I have a good record. Like I guess my edge guards carry me. Like I have a good record against Android Zero and S2J, uh, and I guess none through to me at Vertigo. And like Wizzy's, I guess kind of like my last step. But I know like I still need a lot of work in that Falcon matchup.
Yeah.
Um, so oh yeah, and I probably still get destroyed by Opsa. So like
Yeah,
I
I think
still
that's a
think I
kind
have
of a
like
different
I
story
don't really
altogether.
like ranking myself in a number because I think that's quite frankly irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I just like base myself on like what I know I'm good at and what I know I need way more work on. And that's I like my thoughts.
Yeah. I think anytime someone kind of rises to the ranks very quickly, um, you know, there are some people who are kind of skeptical because when it comes to Melee, it's a game that's been around for so long. We have a top echelon of players that's been around for so long. But I think that like every single time where someone has been skeptical of you, I uh, I'm pretty confident that once again numbers. I agree. I agree with like having any sort of specific numbered list, especially for this year. It's a little too early for that.
Yeah.
But no, I think you've kind of proved yourself to be in that top echelon of players, and I'm interested to see how far you can take it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see myself as well. You know, kind of I guess like if you really do want to put a number on me, it's basically based on how good I am versus Spaces. Let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough because when it comes to rankings and I think they're always different, and it's usually like you know the idea of what happened. You look at what happened before, even though you know what can happen still in the future.
Yeah.
You kind of have to base it off what already happened, and the resume that you put together over the past couple of weeks, been very very impressive. But not much of a surprise, I will say, as someone who's TI locals even before COVID, so this is not a surprise. But
Yeah.
I think if you look at main stage as a whole, I think we did see some surprise upsets there. Definitely a lot of surprising results. And then in terms of majors, leading up to this, we kept talking about how this is not as big in terms of pure entrance as Riptide, but I think this is probably more stacked than Riptide. People who maybe not, whether or not you want to say it's more stacked at the top level, I think is debatable. Not having Plup kind of is something that Riptide has in its favor. Um, of the sheer players who are here. I think the
Yeah.
depth of bracket
I guess I could
was
agree with that.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have some people who definitely showed this depth of bracket. I'm going to bring up some people. If you have anyone you want to mention, feel free to jump in at any point. But I think probably one of the ones that deserves mentioning. I'm just going to mention the one with the highest placing. Zealot. Zealot got ninth at this tournament, which is one of those really funny things. Zealot kind of just got really consistently better throughout online.
Mhm.
Had kind of a had kind of a bad showing at the nightclub show, and ever since then has ended up doing really really well, being able to succeed in both Colorado and won a tournament over Zamu like a week ago. Goes into this tournament, and it is his bracket run is definitely benefiting from a lot of upsets, but still, so he loses to SFAT. He beats OKP, who just beat Cactuar. He beats
Beat Bobby.
Far, beats Bobby, yeah. beat Smash Daddy, and finishes it off with a reverse 3-0 on Slug. Like I watched a bit of that Slug set when he was down 0-2. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess Slug is gonna play Axe. And then suddenly I turned it back on, and yeah, he's definitely very impressive. You mentioned how um
Yeah.
Slug also beating none at this tournament.
Yeah, Slug is that guy that could beat top players but will lose to like Icy's killers.
Yeah,
I
Smash
need you
Daddy.
guys. I need you guys.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, there of upsets here. They kind of range because there's lots of notable ones and there's lots of people who had good runs that we weren't, surprised about, but maybe not something that to all see at once. Like Fat Goku's losers run after losing to Casper is not surprising because we know he can do it, but the fact that he did it all at once is very impressive. How about this? Did you get a chance to see anything from Riken this weekend?
Yeah, I actually tweeted out that I needed Sheik practice,
Mm,
where I practice and can DM me is like, yo, I could be available, and I played it a bit. Kind of I kind of destroyed him for like 2 hours, which kind of like made me more confident that like I could be shroomed with like my
Shroomed if
new
you
game
needed to,
plan.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, given that the resources that he has, like being number three in Chile,
Hmm.
uh, or being number three in Chile probably doesn't have like the most resources, and given it, what he's expensive to me, like he has like a lot of work to kind of like break past with what he could currently show off. It was good. Uh, and
Yeah.
I don't know about his drive if he wants to like go further, but like yeah, I mean, like I hope he because like what matters to me isn't necessarily their current skill level; it's what they go forward from like their mistakes, and that's why I'm really most interested to see from these. It's like in my opinion, they got like the shit end of the stick in many ways, and with you know how they try to overcome that. I'm always interested to see how they do it because like they are if they do, they're just better players than me.
Yeah, we got to see some cool Chilean players. We got to see Rocket, who I believe took a game off face roll.
Yeah, Facebook
Uh,
told me that he was the hardest player that he even fought.
yeah, Griffin does that though. I
But
don't
it
know.
it actually went to last,
Okay,
I
that's
believe.
insane. Yeah, Rocket obviously, that was a kind of an impressive showing for a young Link player. But yeah, Nut. Sorry, Riken was able to beat Nut. Riken was,
If I could say one more thing about the rocket thing,
yeah.
like apparently Griffin was telling me that like he could not camp rocket because young Link's like fire arrows like breaks through Sheik's needles. Like even a full
Really?
stack doesn't beat young Link's arrows. So that was kind of the problem there, where like young Link is already good at like running away in the triplats, and like it's not like she could like easily needle camp back because
Hmm.
young Link's arrows just wins. Uh, so like that kind of made like Griffin like he had to really work for it to catch rockets from what I heard.
I remember, and this is from Edwin Buddy. Edwin Buddy is my source on this, and who knows if he's a reliable source. He wasn't. He, I know that you're not happy with his reliability, considering he's not on today's episode. But he told me once that pre-pandemic, that JFlex resorted to going Fox versus Bambi. Now, I feel like what we've seen from JFlex in the past, year, 6 months or whatever, has been a different beast. But the Cheek in order to beat Bambi, the young Link
That's
player.
funny.
I don't know how true it is. Funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we know that Rocket did well. Riken also did well. Beat Nut, beat Essie, formerly known as Cal.
Hmm.
So kind of a run where with a player like Riken, he is very good. He does have good results throughout South America's online tournaments for the past year and a half.
Yeah.
But it's hard to gauge that. So this is a really cool thing to see, and we're gonna see some more Chilean players at Smash World Tour at the end of the month or at the end of the year. So who knows? It's really cool. This is one of the things that I didn't expect. I didn't expect to see so many Chilean players in 2021, but the fact that we are, it's very very cool. I would say.
Yeah. I think it's a joy to see more international players playing Melee despite like all the roadblocks they have to put up with. Like
Yeah.
they're truly like I've always said that like Pipsqueaks deserves Summit way more than me because like he had to get good at like a dead
Mm.
region. And he I think those kind of grinders.
So I'm gonna bring up another play. You mentioned Shroom. We mentioned Shroom a couple times this episode,
Mhm.
and the funny thing is about this is I think it's not even that surprising what this player was able to do, but you kind of look back at it and it's insane. Um, so the loses to Azel 2-0. Losers run is 2-0 Justin Joe, who's decent. 2-0 Snap, the Fox Game and Watch player.
Okay.
Boomed. I think
Okay.
you're starting to realize who this is.
I already knew when you said it.
3 and 3-2 Zamu to lose
3-0
to
Wrangler?
STJ. Sorry, 3-0 Captain G.
Ah, okay, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, kind of gave away the game right there. So we had a top, we had a Donkey Kong in top 32 of a major,
Yeah, no,
and
Wrangler
we all know he's
crazy.
good. So we're actually kind of not even like talking about how great this is. But if you zoom out, this is something that when I got into melee, like there've been good Donkey Kong players for sure.
Mhm.
He's not the best Donkey Kong player in history. Bum beat shootout with DK and MLG. You know, you shit Green Ranger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you had a lot of good DK players. Uh, but this is something that I think is very, very funny and very good. There's, has kind of an aura that goes above tournament results.
Yeah,
Uh, but at the basis of it has been like a central improvement that I think kind of surprised a lot of people. Started off
yeah.
at Smash Summit 11. Well, obviously very good versus Marth for the point where people were like, okay, wait, he's good. Good for DK. He's just good.
Mhm.
He won Smash Summit 11's VIP bracket over Ty. He comes into this. He beats Shrooms Marth, which feels like a throw. you shouldn't go. You shouldn't go Marth versus DK,
What?
especially.
And he's like he's a Sheik main. What? What?
Yeah, I don't know. The blur about this. My theory is that Shroom knows that he will, if it's a Summit qualifier, he will qualify for Summit. So he decided to throw, just kept winning if he didn't want to.
The real reason was because concert with just didn't give a shit.
Sounds
I
about
guess I
right.
don't. I guess that doesn't answer as a summit qualifier. I guess, but like the contents I was given is that like yeah he was at a concert with Mango, so he didn't care like
Yeah,
all of yesterday, and he is like, and then actually Shroom regretted that because he made a side bet with Kazu that Shroom would outplace him in bracket, and he forgot about that.
which is funny, very funny because Kazu's super good. Kazu lost to Eddie Mexico here.
Yeah, holy shit.
Another insane run. Yeah, this has been Riptide had this as well. Riptide was a big tournament, but this is like all these feelings come straight back of like, oh yeah, upsets. There's so many things. It's just so fun to be there, see it happen through everything. It's just some insane. But yeah, Kazu beats Eddie Mexico beats Kazu, and I didn't get to see this myself. Eddie Mexico had a somewhat close set with Wizzy, took a game at the very least.
Yeah, yeah, I saw the set and like it was so winnable for
Yeah,
Mexico.
that
It just was unfortunate that he plays what I would like to say how a redditor put it. Back of shit. Because like every time like at some turned on and then just like need Eddie like 5 times and killed him and like
Yeah, it
stopped his recovery and all.
definitely sounds pretty impossible. J Flex, I think, kind of players who, the hitting another peak is only for these players. Peaks early in their career that off from, but really, really cool to see them both coming back, see them both being very active in the online era, and then seeing both of them do really well here. I think they both got like 17th or something.
Yeah.
Um, oh, yeah, they both got 17th. J Flex ended up beating Rocky, beating Bladewise,
Not bad.
which is pretty funny. Bladewise, we haven't seen in
Like
forever.
J Flex has like a winning record against the Peach God himself, Polish. So not surprising me.
J Flex, I believe, has a winning record versus the Peach Prince himself, Wally.
Hmm. So
So, yeah, no
is that
surprise. It's
really an
just
upset?
it's no, no. It's just it's cool to see these players, especially for J Flex. Eddie Mexico is very good for a long time, but J Flex kind of peaked as like a late entry something, like
Yeah.
2016. So if a player gets to that stage and doesn't make it on the next, statistically,
Right. Right.
seeing J Flex like really get to the grind and really do well, it's really
Mhm.
cool to see. Any players? I know you were obviously you were
Yeah,
doing very well.
I noticed you didn't shout.
Yeah, hit me.
I out the man himself, the other main.
Yes,
No,
yeah.
he.
This was a really good run from him, and I was do so well for
Mhm.
so long, and it's usually been, and then two, he does,
Kind
but
of.
then it's definitely like degrading from friendlies. Friendlies is best and all to locals. He still does well, but not there as the, and then nationals null, and I now I guess I remember the years of null going to so well locally, and then he'd go to a major and upset every single time.
Yeah, you
So
just shot the bed.
yeah, he beat Ty, he beat Logan, had a really really doable set versus S2J. Something where he flubbed a edge guard on
Mhm.
like the second to last stock, and then it just kind of, unfortunately, that reversal
Yeah,
kind of just you know sealed the deal.
Randall Edge.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, no, that is true. Guys are from kind of like bordering regions, so I know you guys played a lot.
Yeah, he's in the matchup. Giving
I've heard him
myself a
say
little
that.
credit, like I gave him a lot of give him a lot of practice in that regard, and he went out of his way to learn to match him a little. And actually, in friendlies record, like it's very much my favor. But there was like a little stretch in our friendly sessions where like he was actually beating me in like every best of 5. Like I swear it was like for like 10 friendly sets in a span of like 2 months where he would just beat me every single time.
Yeah.
It just so happened during that time span, like he sucked in other matchups, so he never made it to me in bracket. Uh, but and then eventually I found out my own stuff. But like, yeah, he always prided himself being the a fox that's good in the mark matchup, and he finally proved it. Like when he very solidly beat Ty, and there's a recording out there where he actually clutched out he lost game 1, he got destroyed, and then like he reverse 3 0 Logan, uh,
Yeah.
and like just clutching out wins. It's like, damn, yeah, no, this proves that like you're definitely very good at the mark match. Hearsay, and now he kind of just needs to work on other matchups. Like I think Noel's biggest weakness is that he kind of has like a weak matchup spread, all things considered. Like he's good at like three, four-ish matchups, and then like weak at everything else. Like
Mm.
I would have no faith in Null versus Wally, for example. I would have no faith of Null versus like Gatsu. Uh,
Mm.
because like he hasn't really proven himself much in those matchups, and like he doesn't really practice those much in those matchups either. And like I think patch up those like those little bit of a problem matches for him. Like because I think I have full faith in Null versus certain styles of Falco, certain styles of Fox. Good against Mark, good. Not as good versus Falcon, not as good versus Peach.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think that I don't know. No, the type of all around Fox play, but I don't know. I still do for whatever reason. Like I don't knock him for that. I still do think that um the matchups that he is good at, I think takes him pretty far, and I think that Null is pretty good. It's one of those things where, yeah, if I see him in bracket versus Eddie Mexico or something, I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah.
There's
No,
some,
well, he would destroy Eddie Mexico
yeah,
because of the curve practice.
true. Yes, very true. I just okay. What about like Tyler
He would
Swift or
destroy
something?
Yoshi's because of all the Nest practice.
Okay, Tyler Swift. How do you do?
He got
Th-
bombed.
Okay, yeah. It's just like some of the weird characters and some of the you might would give me a little bit of pause. But that being said, looking at Fox players, I think how with Fox's position in the meta, um, like general ability, I do think we tend to see players and people who are and it's not a knock to say that he is really good at certain matchups and not as good as
Oh
others
yeah, he
because
knows this. I've told these.
I think the matchups he's good in, he's really good in. So
Yeah.
I uh I think that was really cool. I was very excited. Me and SF, Melee Stats patron and intern now. we were talking about that at Mainstage. We were watching him beat Logan, and I was very excited to see that this was like finally the culmination of
Finally,
a lot of stuff.
finally.
Um, so really cool to see it all point out in specifics, or it's hard because there's so much here. Like right,
I don't want this
Leo
melee
Dobby.
like past 3 hours again. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
pretty
good at ending it
impossible.
here.
This is one of those. We're back, baby. It's so fun. You look through all this and just it's such a blast getting to see all these sets and getting to see all the results. The day that people care about is the winner. And we kind of really didn't talk. I when it comes to that top echelon, you have players who went here. You have like Wizzy, you have Cody, you have HBox, and it's definitely however many months, right? For all the, I feel like the top win at the who can win these majors. It's been pretty stagnant, right? Online era wasn't really these results, but they weren't didn't tend to be the finals of anything. And now you look at the tournaments that we've had. I guess Ginger winning Low Tide is probably the biggest thing that we've seen, but even that wasn't like a major. That was just a large regional.
Pretty
You
much.
have Cody winning Riptide. That was impressive, but and that was like his first major. But it also wasn't that surprising because people there we knew he could do it. So I have to ask, like, at this the the level of players who can win a major, what do you think that looks like?
Like probably like do 8-ish. Like, it's Mango. It's
Yeah.
it's H bomb. Wizzy,
And then after that, it's
like the rest of the players.
yeah, it's something that's kind of interesting to see, and I think that even in those players, there's some question marks. You have to have some brand specific way. Seeing Wizzy do this was not a surprise, but seeing him do it pretty was was maybe more of the
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd say that like for me with Wizzy, he's like super maybe the scariest control, like the scariest player to pick up a control. See, like
Possible.
you see like of of seeing too much on melee. You kind of see it with his gameplay where he's starting to miss a little bit of tech chases, his movement's a
Hmm.
little stiff. Like that's not that wins the picture. But when we see Wizzy that's like super in practice mode, super on point for everything, that's the kind of guy where like I'm not actually surprised at all. It's like takes
Yeah, no, that's for sure something that we've talked about on here. He's always a little bit of a wild card because kind of like him and Plup tend to be kind of similar, where their peaks are absolutely incredibly high, arguably like best player in the world, and they're unfortunately they do have like kind of a floor that they hit sometimes of losing to 15 top 20 top 25 players, and if they get kind of in a few in a shorter time span then of are they slumping, and as I mentioned IBW won his first major, and one of the things about that, and in my opinion at least, I don't want to speak for everyone, is that it wasn't surprising. The pool that he had to play, Plup, HBox, I think he's very good against those players. I believe he might have had to play Wizzy to win that. I think those are doable, and I think that what he is able to accomplish versus the top field of players, really really good. That being said, last event we saw him at before Mainstage was Smash World Tour. He lost to Polish, and this event, he lost to Ginger, he lost to you, and not to say that you're a bad loss or anything, of course. Not to say that any of these players are
worst
bad
loss of all
losses.
time.
Well, I don't think that these are bad losses, but if you're talking about the third best player in the world, which is what he's reported to be,
Yeah,
um, is this what we see? Does he have a floor that like a top 20 player, maybe top 15?
it's like see, this year is so weird because
True.
like we're just like this is
Yeah.
what happens when you jump the gun at the rankings. It's like, dude, it's only like, and it's like, it's just silly to kind of like go in with these kind of expectations when there's so little data prior.
Yeah, well, that's
But
the thing. Like, I think that with Cody, I think Cody's really, really good. And if
yeah,
you look at 3 losses outside of his normal losses, right? These players are very good. Maybe that is the new normal loss, but I would say that losing to like Polish or losing to Jin to be losing to,
right.
uh, are those is this like outliers that just happen to be bunched up in the same thing? If you had 15 tournaments, would these be the outliers, and we just happen to be looking at the small lens where it looks like it's a slump? Or is his larger tournament performance, is it something that has really high highs and it's possible to have lower than some people's lows? So it's really impossible to say. I think is probably the thing to come down to here, right?
Right. I mean, like, really say too much until we have like a more complete picture.
Yeah, we
I'd
might be
say,
a bit to get to that.
yeah, it'll take a little bit. I mean, we'll see if Cody can. I mean, let's not pretend that like the other top players, not like they're much better than Cody. I mean, like
That's true.
You see dropping sets at SBAT a couple of
Yeah.
times here and there. And
As Fed, I also think, while he's not in Fortunately, that tier of players to like be winning majors, for sure. I do think that Esta has proven himself to be a top 10 player this year, at least in North America.
Yeah, and that's the
Um,
thing is like, do you consider me a top 10 player? Do you consider Polish a top 10 player? And like, and then that kind of it's like that kind of like mindset where like we already know SFAT is really good. It's like with me and Polish, it's more of like question marks. But at the same time, if you look at our results, it's like, is that actually like as bad as an SFAT loss if you think about it a little? To consider, like
yeah, it's definitely something where when you are looking for like trends in data, it's definitely something
oh, let's
the
not forget that HBox also.
well, I want to bring up HBox. This is actually here. Let's use this as a segue. HBox is very good, and he's one of the best
Are you,
players of all time.
are you
Now that I've said that, I can make fun of him by saying I am not sure if HBox is actually that likely to win a major anytime soon. Now, when you are one of the best players of all time and still one of the best players around, it's incredibly possible. I think his field of winning, like he could win this tournament. He could have won if Axe got to winners finals or something, and he played Axe. I think that's really doable. I think that'd be great. He has a like a
improvements?
he has a lot of people who he could run into him. But if you get to a tournament where he has to go through Wizzy, or he has to go through Cody, or even Plup, or Zane, there's so many players who are pilot, and any of these players, I think what you would need to have to be considered a major, I think is really like if you don't have with Zane, if you don't have Mango, is he could win that, but it's not a major.
It's like we're describing HBox as the new Mewtwo King
Maybe, yeah.
because it's not like HBox is incapable of being
Oh,
being IBDW and Wizzy before and Plup,
in
but
this
it's like
year,
it's
yeah,
just so unlikely that he does it all in a row.
yeah. It's the type of thing, when it's really funny because this was the opposite. This was okay if this can win. Idea of who can win a major, and at the time, in reality, the only thing that happened was that Axe won player who won. Um, but now it's kind of you look at HBox, and yeah, maybe if S2J beats Zane, or maybe if Lucky beats Plup, or maybe if like the way that this would have to happen would kind of have to be it'd have to be a really good bracket for him. Um, I think he could see it. I think we could see a scenario, Summit, coming up, Smash World Tour coming up. I think we could see a scenario where he ends up beating one of these players. He ends up beating maybe two of these players.
Mhm.
Um, but in a scenario where he has to beat several of them, he has to take two or three sets out of that pool. That's scary. If I would put money on him, you know, resetting bracket from losers against one of these players, or even winning winners finals or winners semis. I don't know. I don't know what to say about HBox right now.
Yeah, it's just we're pretty much describing him like old Mewtwo King, where it's like, yeah, I know Mewtwo King is very capable, but it's like, are we really just like, is it just waiting for like the perfect bracket luck, or like
Hmm.
just out of blue he like pulls a run like Mewtwo King's Summit run? Like,
Yeah.
is this like the new H box now where we know he's capable? Is just like, man, if you're gonna side bet, you might as well side bet on H box, like on his probable matchups, and
Yeah.
it's like he's capable of beating Zane and Mango, but it's like it's just about as likely as Armada.
Armada.
Positive expected value on that.
And
So like, or Lion, it wants to he thinks that's his highest priority to kind of fix that. Which, if I'm gonna take a guess, I don't think it's his highest priority. I think his highest priority is making good content and making tons of money.
Probably, yeah.
Feeling
Yeah, whatever, losing to or whatever probably is going to get him more money in first and second. Um, but yeah, we had Logan on the show, kind of talked about this type of thing where you have now this is like pop psychology theory. It's like everyone's playing an armchair. It's like a psychiatrist here, uh, but HBox had a lot to prove
yeah,
a lot of times during the online era. And generally, HBox with a lot to prove does prove it. There's a stat that I tweeted out a while ago, which has since in the post online era kind of fallen flat. But
mhm,
for years, if you seeded HBox anything but first, he would almost certainly win. There was very few, like it was very statistically unlikely for him to get anything but first if he's seeded second, third, etc. Um,
interesting.
and I don't know. It's like is that a real thing or is this like what kind of thing is it? Right? Is there any truth behind this data? But he does seem to have performances that end up being really good in times where he's questioned the most. Smash Summit 10, he went in. Mango was saying he didn't deserve to be invited. There was just to be there, and he ended up doing really well. That was one of his um, probably
Wow,
to that day because I think he ended up winning Gallant over SFET. That was his first like big
that's
online
bad enough.
major. Yeah, yeah. But uh, what we've seen and what it was uh third at
Whatever.
Riptide, fourth at
Yeah.
it's just kind of the thing where I'm not seeing the the push to win. Uh, it's a little bit complacent. If he got 17th at Riptide, or if he got like demolished at Summit 11, do we see a difference? And it's impossible to say. Going into the end of the year, going into the start of 20, it's hard to really prove this because he has to play in Summit 12, and then the next
Mhm,
week he's gonna have to play in the Smash World Tour, one of the most stacked events of the year. And then
mhm,
the next major that we're gonna see him at is Genesis 8,
mhm.
which for 2022.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to see him get a bracket anytime soon. But that being said, this is a time that we have not seen for HBox in forever, where like it might be interesting to see. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, if I were to bring up this Mewtwo King analogy one last time, the reason why Mewtwo King would struggle isn't because bad or anything. It was
yeah,
because like you often saw Mewtwo Kings like juggle like three other Smash
yeah,
games at the same time, and we're kind of seeing HBox in a similar effect where like he's focusing so much on content and Ultimate, where like he's juggling. Like before, Melee was his full time commitment, and
hmm
now it's like a halftime commitment.
Well,
And like
even then, HBox did really well as a engineer.
yeah, but like
He's
you
been
could
able to
tell that his
score.
full heart was in Melee.
Very true.
No, like yeah, it was true at a job, but it's like he would take so much like he literally made the sacrifice to quit his job in order to do
Yeah.
Melee because like he was like taking a lot of paid time off and like when he saw that he couldn't take any more vacation days, like he just made the decision to just straight up quit. Like you could tell like his entire heart was in Melee. And
hmm
now that that's kind of not really the case anymore. Um I mean I'm only just there. Only he really knows the truth. But it just seemed like he kind of just like that grit he used to have before. Like for
hmm
sure he still has like an immense amount of grit. Like I wasn't able to beat him, but compared to like old, can you imagine back then like old H box being all like, man, I just have to camp more, and it's like and like you're seeing this like kind of weird reality nowadays where
Yeah.
it's like, huh, like your old self would not hesitate to do that one time. Like, have you not seen your assessments on Armada? Jesus Christ. It's like that kind of thing where like does he like want to put up that kind of grit anymore? That's like the question mark.
It's true. Well, I've got a question for you.
What's up?
Have we seen the last of HBox when Xbox won his last major already, and we just didn't know
It's a hard hitting question.
it?
What's your thoughts?
I don't think so, but I probably at the moment with what we've seen, I'm not sure if I
Now,
could
what are you
say.
considering a major? Are you saying a super major or just a major?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. Whatever. Another, let's say 3 out of the top 5 players.
I mean, three out of the top five players could exclude Zayn and Mango.
Well, main stage is a major. Main stage
Yeah,
act for him.
if we're using main stage as a
I don't I don't think it's the last we've seen of him do well, but I guess if you change that question to super major, we have to see something change is the thing. He
yes,
could probably win a big tournament without having something change. Where re- and no offense to SFAT at the moment, SFAT he's not doing the best versus HBox. He could be in a scenario where he plays Axe, he plays SFAT. I'm kind of putting a lot of players on blast, but but he could be in a situation where he plays very good players who he is favored against, and he maybe he ends up winning it from winners. I don't think that's impossible right now for him to win a decently sized major, but in terms of stacked, something has to change.
yeah,
And I think that's doable. We've seen the ebb and flow of this. We've seen him be a player who kind of was one of the 5 gods, but when I got into the game, he was part of the worst god. He was kind of stuck at fifth for a couple of years. Then he was at second. Then he was stuck at second for a few years, and then he was at first for some of the longest that we've seen in the recent era. And despite what I've had to say about I don't think that run was more dominant than Armada's run or Mango's dominance. He's clearly one of the best players, and he has been able to show improvement when necessary. So it's doable, but I just,
yeah.
we need to see something change because at this current level, he's not winning Genesis, he's not winning Summit, he's not winning Smash World Tour.
I just think we need to see that like once again from him that like because he was like being really wizzy. Like every time you see HBox fight a Peach, he acts up on him, and it's like get annoyed, but not like give up. And it feels like now he's giving up on like those kind of matchups from time to time. And it's like I
Uh-huh.
think Peach HBox it has to do a lot more of his mentality than his skill at this point.
True. I mean, it is kind of if we all like conjecture, right? But I meant Box does well when he needs to prove himself. Say that he needs to prove himself any further, right? He's one of the best players of all time. Well, melee stats slash PG stats top 100 coming out. We'll see where he ends up there, but he's definitively one of the best. And
He's,
it's just like I'm not sure what need to do to prove to people that he's better. He's not. I, he would have to be really good, in my opinion, to be in the conversation of overtaking Mango Armada in terms of top. So I'm not sure how doable that is, but it doesn't seem like he needs to prove anything else in his career at the moment. And without that motivation, anything, I'm not sure if we see the improvement that is necessary to win the most.
I mean,
Um,
we can only see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. And we mentioned some of these big tournaments. We mentioned Genesis. We mentioned Smash World Tour. Summit 12 is coming up, and we have some information on who's going to be there.
Yep.
We got a little group by the name of KoDoRiN. We got some other people from Mainstage, and we got, of course, some people who are invited. So we're seeing the fun start again. Summit season is approaching,
Finally.
and we got we got the crunch of it's kind of a shorter time frame. All the stress, all the fun, all the content is going to come at us. Let me read off a list of be in attendance. What was cool is they had some invited players, and they had a big list of, which is something that they've kind of back and forth on how many qualifiers, how many invites since like Summit 5 might have been the first one with qualifiers or something around those. But they tried
Yeah.
to figure out the balance. So I think
Also,
this
they're doing.
is a I will say work with summits before. I've been able to help BTS. Do not have information on this. But my conjecture would be that there is a man who's not currently accounted for. What would be backup for if he's not available? I have no idea. But this would
Yeah,
be my idea as a spectator.
that
Is
is
that
my conjecture as well.
there's a little Swedish Guilty Gear player who doesn't it's not happen to be to mention here. But let me mention the people who are. So we got Zane, Mango as the two North American players who are invited. We've got Amsa, who is from Japan. Obviously, not been able to enter American events other than Summit. Or I mean, the possibility is there. I believe. It's very hard to do so, and guaranteeing that it would all go through. I don't think is the easiest thing at the moment. So it's very cool to see him here after he was able to go to Summit 11. And then Pipsqueak, unfortunate, fortunate Pipsqueak, winner of I don't even remember. He's first place like 6 months into the same circuit that got him to Summit 11. Obviously, some unfortunate things with his visa kept him from going to Summit 11, and now he is
I was
not only going to Summit 12, he won the same qualifier, and he's going to Summit 13. So we're going to see him here, hopefully. And then I already mentioned you from Main Stage. We obviously have Wizzy, HBox, SFAT. It's a pretty fun group of people. A lot of these people already been to summits. I think everyone but Pipsqueak. Actually, he has attended a summit. He has attended a summit as, but in terms of, he's I believe the only first time competitor. Yeah, as more summits, I think that there was a definite group of summit people,
Mhm.
and it was always like Johnny and or sorry S2J and Lucky, and there's like very specific summit people who'd make it all the time. And then it was just like you'd get a couple people sprinkled in who would be new. And as we've seen the skill gap broaden out and we've seen more great players pop up, it's kind of interesting to see the that Summit has been able to have a lot more new faces and a lot more regulars, like new regulars pop up. Um, the kind of the double edge of that, we have seen Plup, we've seen Axe, we've seen John. Have said that they did not make it to Summit, and they do not really intend on campaigning.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on campaigning? So you made it to Summit 11th. Give us through.
the unfortunate benefactor of Pipsqueak. Not.
It was. I think that was the technical reason. So you did that there, and also the very fortunate beneficiary of living close to the venue. But so you did that, and you're obviously here through qualifying.
Mhm.
What was your history of Stun beforehand? Did you ever campaign?
No, I not only was I probably never popular enough to actually even qualify, I don't think I have what it takes to actually campaign and all.
Yeah. It's a definitely a very specific, it's a niche. It's a sometimes people will make fun of celebrities for, like, always being in the news or for not doing anything special, but I do think that that's a skill, right?
Yeah, like
As
if I ever wanted to qualify to campaign for a summit, like I'd probably need like Mango's help or something because I definitely would not be able to do it on my own.
yeah, for as many people as bashed Nick Yingling for being, like, the worst summit attendee, um,
Sure.
I think that's the best summit campaign of all time.
Yes. Yeah. And like
It's
he had the cheap to do it on his.
he had a lot of people's help, the just, like, the fervor that was there, and I do think that, he spoke to who were not really affiliated with him, people who were not really knowledgeable of fell in love with that, the camaraderie that was there throughout the summit campaign, is that he kinda showed that you don't have to be a good you don't have to be a
Yeah, you just
summit.
gotta be good at people. You gotta be good at
Yeah,
marketing. You gotta be
yeah.
good with social skills. Wow. A popular voting contest that would adhere to all those principles. What a
Who
surprise.
knew? So we're looking at Summit 12, the nominations have opened. Um, Going around was that
Yeah.
it's a little people weren't entering, and then everyone well. So I think we're gonna
Um
see a pretty healthy group, but I'm already liking the people who we see here. It's a lot of people who I think
yeah.
it's a lot of people. It's a l-
Mhm.
I mean, I to jump into campaign. Nominations have not ended yet, and voting has not even started. But
Yeah.
do you have any specific players that kind of jump out to you as someone who'd be really cool?
Well,
Uh,
I'll first off jump to the players that I don't think will actually campaign. Like, I actually
okay,
take Moki's and SJ's word that they won't actually campaign. And
yeah,
it's not because they're burned out of like campaigning. It's due to other reasons. It's like Moki has to deal with border and personal shit. Yeah,
hmm
like I could buy that. And with SUJ, I kind of know that he's not really been grinding and practicing melee all that much lately. Like, because like right before Super Verdugo, like I stopped by SUJ's place to practice a little, and like SUJ and like Android Zero came over as they were like talking about some kind of concert. It's like, oh, I haven't really been playing melee much, so it's like I don't think SUJ's fine, which is why I believe he wouldn't campaign.
yeah,
But with other people, like I think it's kind of like I do see a chance. Like I see Axe and None campaign.
yeah,
More so
maybe,
None than Axe. Well, actually no. Actually, okay, they're both like similar probability. Likely, like I could kind of take the word for it that they don't feel like campaigning again. Dude, it's Summit. Like they know how much it's good. Like, they probably have their org kind of telling us like you're really not.
hmm
Uh, so and like they have very good chances of getting in. Axe and None doing likely. Like I would not be.
yeah. I think
Uh,
that it's hard to tell at the moment who's
right.
but here, let's do this. We have spots to fill. Um, we have two of us, right? Let's create a little bit, with the idea. Obviously, still probably join after we. Let's pick some people. Let's create our own little dream summit roster. So I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you have three. We'll do you do one, I'll do one, et cetera, et cetera.
So
So
I'm looking at the people that are already nominated or like
mhm.
they signed up. There's like soon say Eddie Mexico, Lotvino in. What a surprise. Android Zero, Tyler Swift. There's Ringler. There's Vintage. There's Riken. Uh,
Lots of good players.
Slug. So that's a lot of good players. Obviously, like if you want the dream bracket, it's like or the dream selection, it's the best players, but win right off the straight of the bat. I'm gonna
Wow, that use one of my 2 slots on Wrangler. Comment as a considering he's probably someone who's been to one some of this is of all people. This is just not like to some of the most Smash summits. He's the key. Him getting to go as a competitor, I think, is very hilarious, and he's got a lot of history there. But also deserved, right? It's more deserved than I think people kind of give him credit for at the moment.
he has the okay. He first of all, he's a good player. That
Yes,
much is obvious, but he gets the buff of being that low tier hero.
yes,
Uh, so that is giving him a huge buff. Secondly, he's like a pretty loud, kind of outlandish kind of guy that would give him a lot more of a voting incentive that people would be super down to vote for. Like he's
and I
probably
will
gonna come
not.
up with
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
ridiculous tiers. What are you gonna say?
I'm not gonna overstep my bounds, but I will say that the famous Rich.
Yeah, he's also rich.
Yeah, we will see. But I mean, I think we mentioned the things that kind of lead to him being a good uh player that could make it. Being kind of the esoteric things. I think he plays a character that's incredibly unique. But all of it kind of piles on top of the building block of him just being a player. Um, for my pick, I only get two, so I have to kind of know when to use them. I'm gonna pick Sora.
Sora,
Sora,
good pick.
aka Josh Man. He is the best player in Australia currently. Know that Spud has been kind of MIA. Sora has always been one of those players who, if you look at his results in Australia, it's tough to really pinpoint because he would just get pretty much destroyed by Spud all the time and would beat most of the other players on like a really consistent basis. He's kind of like the gatekeeper for Spud, and then would just lose to Spud. Has been winning basically everything. I know that Sock is very good as well. There's definitely other good players from Australia, but Spud's just pretty much like incredibly consistent number one. And he has had good performances. He's come here, he's done Genesis before, he's done well. And I think that we could see Sora, you know, Sora's already going to be in Smash World Tour. I think being able to see him in Summit 12 and Smash World Tour back to back, I think that he could put together a pretty strong resume in only 2 weeks.
So my question to you is, why are you bringing up skill as the first thing?
Okay, all right, true. Uh, how about this?
Because to me, that's almost completely irrelevant.
How about this? Ready? He has a continent behind him,
Yes,
and
that I thought that should have been the first reason. That
no,
like,
no,
dude,
that's like the fifth reason. Uh, one, maybe not one. Four. Slime likes him a lot.
yes, that's a big buff.
Three. The Bad Melee Discord likes him.
Yeah, favor.
Two. I believe that there was a streamer. There's like a streamer, ST Peach or something, who
Hmm.
I think there's some DMs about how she might throw money. Crazy.
Ah,
That
ah,
might not be public information, but whatever. Number one, the person who bought to get Yingling.
yeah, those are really good reasons, and it's quite. It's more so like, does he have the resources? That's my biggest metric. Because if I Android Zero, but I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know. I think Wrangler's way more likely than Android Zero.
yeah, it's part likely, it's part what you want to see, right? Even if
Yeah.
you know it might not happen, you're trying to be reasonable, but also trying to figure out something you want. Um, what about your second pick?
I'll go with the dark horse pick that either none or Axe are gonna change their mind and campaign.
All right, well, you got to pick one.
None.
Cool. Yeah, I think so. Axe, yeah, Axe, I tend to take his word more for that. Not that I think none's a lie or anything, but I think none is a good pick for that. Okay. There's a lot of good picks here. You know what? I'm gonna also say that the buying power that 600 hats gets you might also amortize across Sora and this other player, Free Palestine.
Free Palace
And
pick.
Free Palestine has Summit before, uh, good Midwest region behind him. I know that he's got a lot of friends who want to spend a lot of money to get him in, and I mean, obviously, you're gonna get on my case for saying that Free Palestine is very good. So,
The good player part. Why didn't you say Ben?
because Ben, I'm not sure if people are buying 600 hats to get Ben
That's what I want to hear.
in.
Uh,
So those are my two. My two are Sora and Millie, Sora and Free Palestine. So we got one more Summit 12 vote-ins.
to get Android Zero in, but
Just
uh,
why not? We're
because
just on a
I don't
podcast.
see him.
Who cares?
I don't
Say
see.
Sue.
Well, yeah, I'm saying my honest thought that I don't like. I will give him all my support because he's my pulled, several times him,
Very
but
true. Yes.
you have like this to if Android Zero has a plan, his ability to get votes. And I think the answer is most likely no to me, because like I think they have a plan. I don't know if Android Zero has a plan. And he
Mm.
could prove me wrong. Like, and I'll give him all my support, but my pragmatic side is being pessimistic about his chance.
So who's your pick then?
Uh, from the non. The thing is that this isn't even done. Like,
No, it's not done. You picked a
so
player who is not currently
yeah,
entered
and
into
like
it.
it is just so much variables. But I guess if I had to pick one, this is kind of a cop Eddie Mexico.
That's fun.
Yeah, like he's a popular guy. He's here
Hmm.
and has 10 history behind his name.
Very
Yeah,
true.
Whale is backing him up. So,
Also, internet.
but like I don't strong because I could feel that uh like I fight like because I
Mm,
think Wrangler has a strategy. I don't know if Eddie Mexico would have a strategy.
yeah, I mean the thing is, some it's impossible to predict.
Yeah,
So even
who
even
knows?
trying to predict it, Aaron, but I think whatever we're gonna see. Oh, I think that every summit so far has yet to really disappoint. And being able to see this group with something fun cooked up in terms of bracket style, national
Yeah,
players.
and
Hopefully, hopefully,
this is also really rough because it's only top 5. It's like, damn,
yeah.
wow.
Every summit kind of demonstrates the idea of like people won't make it, and you're like, I can't believe this person didn't make it. But
Mhm.
there's so many people who can make it, where it's really impossible to say. So I think every summit kind of ends up being fresh because they always have the same. They have like a solid group of people that makes it. It's not all new faces, right? Kind of we're kind of grounded in this familiarity, and then you have a lot of people coming in to kind of make it interesting. So
Yeah,
looking forward to Summit 12 for sure.
let's go.
Maybe Aaron, you can come back on.
But we'll see what happens. I'm just looking to like level up and have fun there. Pretty good example of a summit level up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well,
Uh,
play with the best players in the world yet again.
uh, so I mentioned how well, if we have you back on the famous melee stats jacket, if you make it 5 times, you've been on this podcast before, unsanctioned, but you kind of know how it goes. We had you hang out with the Dark Genix episode, but you didn't really get questions yourself. So at the end of the episode, we have questions from the Patreon.
Sure.
So this, even though it's not your first technical opinion,
We
I
also
think,
skipped it last time.
yeah, we ran out. So this is your first time getting any questions. So we got,
Yeah,
we got
what's
some
up?
questions from the Patreon. So he said, "Who's your pick for Summit, and why is it Sufjan?" Well, I feel like we got to answer that one.
Yeah, I wanted to go.
And then, we actually have a lot of answer. SF, we already mentioned him. In turn, usually asks really good questions, and then submitted a meme question this time. So who's a tougher opponent, Null playing well or HBox, but he doesn't pop off? Feel like we kind of mentioned both of those players, but
Mm, I will answer this mean question, and it'll be no playing well.
hell yeah. Uh, SF once I told him that his question, he asked a question about you from many other players with less success, quote unquote. So I guess how did you achieve your success in a small playing longer?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that is that I had special skill sets going in. I even made a video about this, where explaining like my defining trait of improvement was the part where I learned how to learn in high school, on high school, and kind of learning the basis of asking for help. I think is like probably like the best trait I got out of high school.
Hmm.
And applying that to melee, where like if you see my improvement arc, like I basically just ask people questions all the time. He he was doing, like, and it kind of just started there. I just kind of looked around, like I wasn't that knew me would be not talented at the game, and I just like found my way where I kept that there, and eventually I found like prove and just kept going, and I'm still going at it, and I still think there's
You kind of had a good crop of questions. Usually I joke about how they'll ask really bad questions and then I'll call them bad on the podcast, and I won't call them bad, and then you're kind of in that cycle where you get the good questions. Let's all say, which yeah, right. Two questions we had from Dr. Lame and Grab, both two Marth patrons. Uh, so Dr. Grab asks, are there any up and coming Marth players that you like to watch? Call him Dr. Lame. Dr. Lame asks, do you have any favorite you like to watch? And Grab, uh, that you see left.
who's my favorite Mark player to watch.
Yeah, who's like,
Yeah, you say Zane or PP or whatever. Up and coming Mark. I'm also guessing you're not going to count Logan here. So
yeah, let's not count Logan.
yeah,
It's a fun answer to give. You kind of already gave it, but let's see if we can shine a light on someone who's maybe a little lesser known.
the thing is like I could see there's like a crop of like new mid-level Mark players that isn't exactly cracking like the high top level yet. That's
Hmm.
how I feel about the current Mark meta. Is that there isn't really too many top level Marks, even high level Marks. They're kind of stuck in like the zone right before that. It's not that they're stuck, like they haven't gotten super good yet. One that I actually think rest at some lessons and seeing his improvement rate is actually like really good. It's like
That's a cool answer.
like I've given him like start of COVID and seeing his improvement like a year or two later, like he still takes lessons from me, and like I could see that he's gonna be insane one day.
What about have you seen anything from Ingen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Incredible player. It's just that I haven't looked at him too much, but he also
Mm,
seems very promising as well. I just have not like watched him too much. Like I don't have as much like personal stakes with him, I guess, as I do
yeah.
with like a mod. But like
Ver
he's someone I'm looking out for as well.
and then kind of grabs side of the question, which is, is there you see like lower level Marth players do if you
Definitely, I
place.
guess the Pete Pet myself was very guilty on like the mechanics of the game. Like their
Mm,
execution can be way.
something very true across the board for that. I'm gonna answer two more questions. One's gonna be a very quick one, and one's gonna be but one that I think is funny. So Teslic asks, "What's your favorite color?"
Wow, it's green.
I think it's green. And then Ambi, he snuck in on the patron questions.
What's up?
Little devil he is. This is a huh. Wonder if it's gonna be offensive. Who do you think plays more like Music King, you or Logan?
I think it's Logan.
I think ask. Do
What?
you look to Music King for anything anymore? Music King's kind of someone who kind of this game was, but in the past
Yes.
few years we really haven't seen anything from him.
Mewtwo King laid out like the blueprints of Edge Guarding
Hmm.
Fox for me. Like
Got it.
if for inspiration, I think of Mewtwo King versus any Fox for like especially for edge guards. And like, he was also kind of my blueprint of Marth versus Luigi as well. Like when he played versus Plup, that was actually like a very solid blueprint of me getting better versus Luigi and ending some Luigi's careers. And just being like an inspiration. Like he was like one of the first Marts I looked up to. And, I'm always well. And yeah, I guess nowadays not as much, but like every time I see something cool from him, like I always take and like keep in mind in the future.
It's cool to see that even though he might not be competitively relevant at this current moment,
Yeah,
um, that he's still there, and
mhm,
he still has some relevancy in
yeah,
gameplay. That's really cool to hear.
yeah.
Well, we're getting near to the end of the show, and I think we did this. Yeah, I know that we did this on that episode. That as of yet unnamed segment, which is not allowed to be named, touching grass. Kind of we're seen as kind of like monoliths where we only pay attention to melee. And that's the reality of that same as I think that something that we can be doing more in melee is focusing on the players themselves and the people themselves behind the results, behind what they do. So this is kind of a segment that's geared to talk about what we've been into recently that has not been related to melee. I will give you some time to go, so I'll go first. This past week, I was able to spend about a week in the greater LA area, and the number of friends I was able to see was so high, and really, really blessed to be able to see so many people and be able to take in the generosity and just like the great, incredible vibes from all my friends. However, it was all through melee, so that doesn't really count. So I will pick a YouTube channel, which I watched a few videos of at while I was staying at a house where people were recording a podcast. um, I was watching some YouTube videos from a guy called The Real Jims, who he is a Simpsons YouTuber. I love The Simpsons, one of my favorite shows. I really do love this YouTuber's ability to kind of understand that all of it like using all of the buffalo in a sense. I think that the guy, he makes videos about looking at each season, talking about their best episodes, talking about how their season as a whole feels, and I think that he's able to do so in a really cogent manner, in a manner about the show in. Generally, the show's seen as like, oh yeah, everything up until season 8 is incredible, and then everything after that is bad. But I really do like his ability to kind of take it all in, and like adjustment. And also, he makes very knows about like deep dives into characters that barely get seen. Like he'll do like really deep analysis of how many times they used to show up more, and who has more friends, Lisa or Bart. It's dumb. It is dumb. But he goes into it with a straight face. Uh, he puts the work in a way that I respect. I respect someone putting work in to a level that probably is not necessary, and therefore I would recommend the real gyms on YouTube. What about you, KoDoRiN?
Oh, sounds like you had quite the week. And for me, this is maybe like the most I've ever like been so super engrossed with Melee. And that's saying
Yeah.
something because back then at UCI, I played like a shit ton of Melee. And I'm playing and it's kind of an ill-timed thing. What have I been doing inside Melee? And I've been doing mostly Melee stuff. But
Well,
I'll talk to you a week before, where I was. I've been doing improv class.
really.
Yeah,
And UC
what?
is it, UCB is a big improv in the LA area. They might have actually they might
Yeah,
have
no, I
closed
live in
down.
San Diego, so not
Ah, okay.
there, but I do it in the greater city area in San Diego because I live in San Diego, and
Nice.
yeah, it's just good for me to do, especially since I'm streaming more, and like it's just
True.
good to be more out and better, and um, yeah, and also kind of branching out more. Uh, I've been hanging out with some new people that are outside of Smash community, which is a breath of fresh air, one could say. And
Mhm.
yeah, just hanging out with them has been quite fun. And yeah, just hanging out with new people and like performing here and there. Great breath of fresh air for me.
We'll have to get you and Tafo in a scene.
Why?
Tafo classes.
Oh, I see. I see.
One of you needs to return something to a store or something. So we'll make up a premise.
Yeah,
We'll,
we'll see. We'll see.
we'll get it going.
Yes.
Yes, and I think you are going to do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah. Anything else to say?
no,
It's
I
been
mean,
2 solid hours.
I had a two. Yeah, we did two. It was good. I had a really great experience. I think that this was a fun episode. I know that
I didn't miss
you
out.
know, well, yeah, he's having a little honeymoon, and
Ah,
Ambi is Ambi
can't
wasn't able
believe
to
you.
make it, but
Oh, what even is that?
honeymoon, honeymoon.
Jeez.
Son, come on. But no. Uh,
Yeah.
you're on Metafy. Where can people find you?
You can find me at KoDoRiN SS handle that you visibly see.
Of
And I do coaching. I think I provide one of the best coaching services in the entire Medify platform, probably the entire Smash community. I've done hundreds of lessons at this point. I know what it takes to improve really fast, as I described before. And I think I charge at a pretty reasonable rate. So if you want to get good, sign up for my lessons. That's
hell
all.
yeah. I mean, if Edwin were here and not with his spouse, not being such a spouse guy, he would probably say that you give good lessons. I know he's taken.
One.
Well, he talks about it a lot, I guess.
I guess I made an impact.
I know with one. Think what you could do with multiple. Maybe not lessons enough, but yeah,
Hey,
for
the goal by lessons is to be so effective that you could teach yourself, even though that's a bad business move.
it's a
It's
bad business move, but it's a great melee move.
yeah,
And
it's
if
like
anyone's interested in
yeah,
getting that, I think that I seems like it's going well, and I hope to see some players who had that KoDoRiN coaching start to pop off, and I think that we're probably going to see that wave soon.
hmm
So I think that is going to be great. Um, yeah, in terms of melee, melee stats, that is. If you like watch the episodes of Waiting for Game on YouTube at Melee Stats Archive. If you want to watch them live, you can watch them on Twitter stats. If you want to watch the longer form videos that we put out, it's on the Melee Stats YouTube channel. Put out a recent one a few weeks ago on Nintendo and our relationship with them. And recently we had 100K on that video. So I want to thank everyone who
nice.
watched that. That was a pretty incredible feat.
That's awesome.
Definitely amazing to have that happen. So if you want to check that out, it's on the Melee Stats YouTube channel. If you want to see, we have daily results tweeted out. It's over at our Twitter, twitter.com/melee-stats-pod. You can also find articles on our Twitter that links back to meleestats.co, our website. You can find stuff such as Monday Morning Men's Melee. You can also find on meleestats.co. And if you love everything that we do over here and you just want to support us, patreon.com/melee-stats. That being said, that's our normal gist. We are running to the end. Melee stats, top 100 of all. And that KoDoRiN didn't make it on just yet, but who knows? Who knows? Next time it comes out, maybe we'll see. Current release, we know the top.
Yeah,
No,
I
we know.
mean,
Well,
I
we
could
know.
be top 20.
Sorry,
You
we
never
know
know.
21 through 30 was just announced. Else, we know everything but the top 20. I guess is what I meant to say. Um, So that'll be super sick if you wanna pay attention to that. We'll be tweeting it out. We'll be talking about it in our Discord, and obviously it's going to be over on PG Stats. If you want to hear more about it, maybe we'll talk about it next week. Wink, wink. Next time, third, we'll have to bring you on again.
Yep.
Uh,
We'll see. We'll see.
we'll see. If you get first, you're not coming on. We have rules here. We can't break them.
I'll be sure. I'll be sure, dude. Once I make winners files, like, oh yeah, I want to make it here.
You got to throw. But I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate everyone for watching. This has been Waiting for Game, and yeah, don't forget to stick around for next week because we got some juicy top 100 stuff to talk about.
Sure.
Peace, everyone.